If someone's listening, please give Roman a laptop.
I guess I could do it on the HP notebook,
you don't need
right?
to say it. Yeah. You should just. I don't know why you just do it through the home screen and just maybe we should try it out.
Next time, maybe.
Maybe the video quality will show. Well, actually, you know what? Honestly, I can only see your face right now because you're blended into the wall behind you. So.
Oh, really? Is that bad?
No, I'm just kidding. Because you get it? Because you're wearing a white tee. Your wall's white. Come on, Roman. Get with it, bro. Before I wanted to start, by the way, what's going on, guys? This is the Gainz podcast. Because you're going to probably start talking right away because you got to finish what you were talking about last week.
No, you should start because I hogged last week.
Dude, we should name this episode Chickadee Check Yourself Before You Wreck Yourself. But no, all I was going to say is first things first. I don't know if I mentioned it on here or just to you, Roman, but if you guys don't know this, I do stream video games on Twitch, but once I get a home gym down the road, would you guys want to see like me lift via live? So like maybe I can answer questions or anything like that, or if you want to just watch me lift, you could form check me all day. But I was trying to see if anyone's interested. If you are, let Roman and I know. Roman can also do it too. He just needs to, either have a wireless solution or just do it via phone. But it's a little bit easier if you had a home gym, so that's why I'm waiting until I get a home gym. Second thing, I was a little late to this call because I was finishing up making some rice. Pro tip for any of you guys looking for some easy carbs: I get a lime, some cilantro, some garlic and onion. And I put jasmine rice in a rice cooker, and then once it's done, and I also cook the rice with like 2 bay leaves, so it has a little bit more. Yeah, and then I squeeze a lime and put the cilantro and the onion and garlic after it's cooked. Spin it around, give it some spins, mix it all around, and it's really good rice. And it actually tastes like a little bit like the chipotle rice. So if you like chipotle rice. Yeah. I've been doing it lately. Also, too, jasmine rice over everything. Jasmine rice is the only rice that holds its moisture, and I swear every other rice sucks. Like basmati rice, dry, literally dry. Regular white rice, dry. Brown rice, dry. I mean, I don't use a lot of butter or oil in my rice, so maybe that's why I just use water. So I'm assuming because I don't have the fat contents, but what I've realized with jasmine rice, if you just like rice for rice and don't need to add butter or oil, use jasmine rice. It's pretty cheap. I buy 10 or 20 pound bags at a time. So my ass is carrying a sandbag on my shoulder when I'm coming in for groceries.
Yeah, it's so funny.
What was the third thing real quick? Third thing is that squat hamstring thing where you put it on your shoulders and you can either squat it with your back against the pads or your forehead on the pad. Roman's actually posted a squat video. Do you know the name of that machine, Roman?
I just call it a cam hack squat.
Okay. I realized, and I realized, so if you do it the standard way, it looks kind of funky. And also, I feel like the forehead to the pad feels better. So maybe this can go into the talk today. But if you watch this episode of Gainz podcast and you got to the 4-minute mark, 5-minute mark, wherever we're at right now, I think the way where you put the forehead on the pad and you kind of squat away from the actual machine, I call that the yes daddy position. So if you've gotten to this so far, comment on the next Instagram post that we post and just say yes daddy. and we'll know that you actually watched the video or listen to the audio. Sam started laughing, and there's a couple people around me. I didn't know if they had their headphones or not, but I'm like, you know what? This is like a good way to just like show off your glute gains to like the people squatting behind you, because it's just like you just straight like moon them every set. Like, you're just like straight mooning them with your butt and just showing them your butt the whole time.
I wonder if my form would change if I'd be like more self-conscious if it was open to the rest of the room, because like in my gym where it's set up, it's right against a mirror. So I'm like mooning my my doppelganger.
Yeah, it's you know what, I don't know if some gyms purposely do that so like, single people can like kind of check each other out more often than not. Or just, couples that want to have some fun with other couples. I don't know.
Sometimes it's just a convenient location for the equipment.
Yeah. Also, too, an update. Man, I got a lot of updates, Roman. What's going on? I feel like we don't talk too much on the Gainz podcast, but I'll go into, because I know Roman still got some good content for you guys. I'll go into a little bit of the form checks that I had in my notes, but Arizona has lifted like face masks in gyms, and our gym is participating in it. And it's pretty crazy. I told Roman this, but like the day of it got lifted, like we went to the gym for the first time. We brought our masks just in case, like, because I didn't know like how awkward it would be or whatnot. But literally 95% of the people did not wear a mask. It was like crazy. It's like no one wanted a freaking mask. So, hey, that's pretty cool. They opened up the sauna too at the gym. So, man, it's been killing me. People keep turning it up all the way. That thing literally has been like almost 200 degrees every time I go in there.
Wow, really?
Yeah. I'm
it's
like
Laird Hamilton status.
Yeah, I'm like 120 to like 150 kind of guy. But like someone's been cranking it, and like I'm pouring sweat within like a minute. But anyways, guys, let's get back into kind of like last week where we're talking about Roman pretty much was opening up and finishing the video and audio with the squat. To Roman explaining about like the hip and everything, I actually did some testing myself with Sam and I, and it actually helped me. I did my first round of squats last week for it, and it feels pretty nice, and it feels like it's going a little bit smoother. I just have to get the motion down. It's a different little movements, patterns, all that good stuff. And I did post a video, so I know I mentioned I don't post squat videos, but I had to put one up there. Who cares if I don't squat the most? I always show off my deadlift to people on my bench because I'm proud of that stuff. But hey, it's okay to be a little humble here and there when it comes to your squat.
Yeah, definitely.
But some things that I wanted to go over before Roman kind of finishes like this series, or maybe we might not finish it. I don't know. Roman does have a lot of notes on this bad boy. But something with like form checks, you don't really think about this stuff until you're in the gym and you actually notice it compared to like other people. But some of these things might not be science proven. So this is like my take on some of these form checks, and maybe suggested takes because of some of the people that I've like researched, I've seen over the years, or done it myself, my own practice. Wow. The gym, the practice, where you just come and lift weights. So I put down back movements. Honestly, with back movements, I typically will, for the hand side of form, when it comes to form, I typically honestly use a thumbless grip. I always kind of pull from the pinkies, and that's like most back movements. If I'm doing a bent over row, if I'm doing a horizontal cable row, if I'm doing a vertical cable row, I typically don't even put my thumbs on like any like the placements. Like if I'm wearing straps, like I'll hold the bar with just the 4 fingers, and that's about it. I learned that from Jeff Albertson, actually, the godfather from 3DMJ. I think it has to do with kind of getting away from like the front force of like your grip, and if you use like the front force of your grip, you're kind of not technically using your lats and your back for the overall like lift. You could kind of pull from the pinky if you have all 5 fingers on the bar, but sometimes if I'm using straps, most of the time my grip's already there. I literally just need to engage my lats. Do you ever think about that, Roman, real quickly?
Yeah, I like to see you like include your thumb on lat pull downs in particular, because I think you actually get a greater stretch on your teres major and teres minor muscles at the top. When I've seen you like do them, I think you have like a little bit more range of motion left here, where you can really allow for the stretch of the scapular muscles, which lat pull down, like although it's called lat pull down, lats are like much more designed for movement in the horizontal plane as opposed to like the vertical plane. The vertical plane is going to be like the upper back musculature, and in particular, like with lat pull downs, I feel them more with like my teres major and teres minor. But that's why we're talking about this, folks, because it is going to be individualistic. Some people actually might feel a degree of lat contraction, and the reason being usually, so one thing that I'll do if I want to get a little bit of crossover is I'll extend my thoracic spine so that the angle to which the bar is intersecting with my torso, I'm pretty much trying to create like a perpendicular angle as opposed to more like this, a pulling direction, which is almost parallel. I want it to be practically perpendicular. And when you do that, you do get a little bit of lat engagement. I don't think that it's optimal. A pullover or some sort of like horizontal row would probably be more optimal, where it's like horizontally connecting with your body. So it can be a bent over row. It can be a cable row. It can be they have like the cam machines, which like have the 2 hands and they're on a cam, and you can do it like with 1 arm or 2. But yeah, I kind of want to see you try both, like mix it up, and then just like report back to us and let us know, because you might be spot on where you have like a better connection so when you're putting more emphasis on your pinky, that also might give you a better cue to like depress the scapula, which like might create a better mind muscle connection. But I would be interested to see, like, wrap that thumb around when you do your lat pull downs and let us know. You can like maybe make a post on it, and yeah, let us know if you feel better contraction and better mind muscle connection to your upper back musculature. So your rhomboids, your teres major, your teres minor, and those are like these armpit muscles right here. So on the outside of the armpit. Let us know if you really feel it here more, and then like the upper part of the back, like on the internal to the traps.
You know what's also weird too about and I'm glad you brought up like the videos of like me doing lat pull downs when it comes to like the cables. The only thing that I also can say about that is, so since I have such long monkey arms, yeah. I don't know if I also do it because I'm really close to like hitting the plates on each other.
Yeah.
So, and the only thing I hate about those machines, you could crank the pads where your thighs will end, but you can never crank the seats. So
really?
Yeah, like every time I sit down, like I can literally grab the bar no matter where I'm at. Like I don't even need to try. Like my arm's lifting up and I'm like already grabbing it.
I never even thought about that. That's a good point, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. Why don't they have something when it comes to like the seat, like adjuster? Because see, the thing is, like, I feel like it's like almost one size fits all. Besides, like how fat your thighs are or how thick your thighs are.
Yeah, and like any basketball player, like a majority of professional basketball players, like I wonder if they get custom equipment. Because if they ever want to do a lat pull down, like those dudes have like what? I'm gonna make up a number, but like 60-inch reach, like
it's
like
it's
crazy.
Usually basketball players, they're over 6 feet in wingspan. So we're talking at least a 3 foot arm, or around 3, I guess. Well, because of the chest, so almost like 3 foot like arms, I guess.
Yeah.
Can you imagine having those long of arms?
That's so crazy to me, because like I'm so short. I've always had to like, there have been some lat pull downs where I've like literally almost had to jump, like be standing on the seat to grab up to it. And then like,
and then get in position.
Like my back is like, it's decent in strength. So I'd have to like use my body weight to pull it down. And then like sometimes I'd have to have people pull me because my back would be so strong that like my body, I used to be like 130 pounds. And if I was lat pulling like 145, like my body like physically couldn't pull it down. So I'd have to like hook my feet, like one of my feet under the seat pad and like kind of like squeeze my feet together like this against this seat pad to like pull it down and then like let it come up to like start the lat pull downs.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like every time, like maybe, and that's what I'm thinking. Maybe like maybe when I lift my arms like this right here, if you're on the video, like that's the range of motion I have. Yeah. And then I pull down because like most of the time, like when I'm pulling like cable rows, it's like touching where like my bottom of my neck is, like on my clavicle.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah, clavicles are here, right?
Yeah, like it's like almost hitting my clavicle when I'm like at the bottom of the, the concentric.
Okay, this is the sternum here.
So the top of the sternum?
North and south. Yeah, the top of the sternum.
Okay, so yeah, so it would so it pretty much ends there. But yeah, so maybe next time we'll see. Maybe I could do a test with like some lightweight and just see like where my hands stop. Yeah. Maybe that'll be a good test too, because maybe that's why. Because the only thing is, I'm thinking where like I try to get to like this close where the plates are touching, and then I do my set. Like you have that feel like when you're new to a gym and you like do it a couple times, like you'll start smacking the weights, and you're like, I'm not here to smack the weights. I'm gonna do it as close as possible and then do my rep. You know what I'm saying? Like
exactly.
The next thing I wanted to talk about real quick before Roman, let's get you talking, is the leg press with form. I've been seeing it a lot more again because I'm going back to a gym. But with form with leg press, I think Omar Isuf came out with a pretty good video when it came to this, like back in the day. I'd have to check through the archives to see this video, but the way you put your feet and position your feet, either with, how narrow your stance is, how wide your stance is, and where you position it on the leg press, either vertical, on the vertical side of it, things like if it's on the highest setting or the bottom setting of the sled, you'll get different parts of like a workout. Obviously, leg press, we want to think it's like more of a quad movement. So depending on your structure and your way of your, honestly too, with I think squat, you could kind of cater through that or not cater through it and kind of get different musculature going on that lift, because you're not like, say like my stance is a little bit wider, then I can narrow it on the leg press and get a little bit more different muscles involved than the squat. But besides that, what I was speaking of, the form when it comes to leg press, I've been seeing it a lot lately because I've been going to the gym and I could finally see people leg press again, is the fact that people sitting down and doing the rep, they'll either not fully range of motion, meaning, they're going as far as possible with their knees back without rounding their back, or I'm seeing people going so far and their positioning is pretty bad where their butt will wink when they're sitting and your lower back will kind of round itself. So if you guys want to see like a good range of motion when it comes to leg press, I know we bring them up all the time, and maybe we should just pay them to bring them up all the time. Mike Isertel and Charlie Banks, and I forgot the other guy's name, but they work out with. But Jared, yeah. But like, look at like their leg press, like that's full range of motion when it comes to the leg press, and they do it in a fact where they're not rounding their lower back, and they're doing it where they have so much like range where they have the mobility and the flexibility to get the whole like leg press movement going. But that's the two things I see with leg press. It's either people will just like short shaft it and just add as much weight as possible thinking they're Ronnie Coleman, but they don't do a full rep, or they do such a full rep where maybe they could have gotten better positioning on the seat or their feet, that their lower back will round. And also, if you're throwing a lot of weight on a leg press, when your lower back is rounding, it's probably not in a good position, a safe position that we always talk about, and it could cause injury, right?
Yeah, I think there's like a nominal increase in like the injury risk. I say nominal because it's for the most part, any type of like weight bearing movement has a low incidence of injury compared to other sports, to the best of my knowledge. I did want to mention on like the female side of things, for any women or girls that listen to the podcast, check out Jess Dalglish, I think is how you say it. She's with the team Revive Stronger or Revive Stronger. I think she's just Jess Dalglish. It's like Dalglish. But she has like immaculate form on the leg press. She has immaculate form on the leg press.
I don't think I've ever. I think you mentioned her before, but
Yeah.
you should probably send me her Instagram after this. I'd like to see it.
Yeah, she's really cool. She's a female bodybuilder. She competes in figure, I think. I could be wrong. Jess, if you check out the podcast, thank you first and foremost. Big fan of yours and Revive Stronger. But let us know if I'm wrong on that. Yeah, she's like she joined. She was an intern for the Revive Stronger team for a while, and then she joined up with them maybe like over the summer last year. So I think I first heard about her. Steve like from Revive Stronger had mentioned her, and I was like, oh cool, like they're bringing on interns. That's really neat. And I was like, oh, I wonder if that's something that like I can do. And she was like on a podcast, and I was just kind of like jiving with some of the things that she said. And then I saw that she like got hired from them. I was like, yeah, I'll follow her. Like, I really like the Revive Stronger brand. So like, I want to support them however I can. Anywho, yeah, that's really good. And then with leg press, this is a generic statement, but I think it can work for many people. The higher up your feet are on the leg press, the more you're gonna focus on glute development. You're still gonna get some degrees of knee flexion, so you are still going to incorporate the quads. But for the most part, the higher your feet are on the platform, the more glute work you're gonna do, the more glute focus, and essentially what you'll see is less a degree of change about the knee joint and more a greater degree of change about the hip joint. So that's what defines greater glute muscle recruitment. And the lower you are on the platform, the more quad recruitment you'll get. And I did see you mention hamstrings, buddy, and like funnily enough, hamstrings is not it shouldn't ever be like seen as like a primary like mover for the leg press. But like what's weird is some people will self-report that they feel the movement in their hamstrings.
Yeah,
so,
and that's a good thing too, because like I was gonna talk about that. I'm like, well, I feel like most lifters don't really would ever use that as like a hamstring prime mover.
Yeah.
It's sometimes it's if you look at the diagrams, sometimes it's listed. Like it's like listed as like one of the.
Which is so funny, because it's like it. So the hamstrings are responsible for knee flexion.
Yeah.
And also hip. Knee flexion and hip extension. Knee flexion and hip extension, I believe it is.
So and then quads is knee extension, hip flexion.
Yeah, and hip flexion. The rectus femoris mainly helps to flex the hip for the quadricep muscles. Man, it's so funny because I have to think back on like the definition of the two of them. That's why like I struggle with it so much. Flexion is just a decreasing of the angle of the joint, and extension is an increasing of the angle, I believe. So when you're standing straight up and you do like a butt kick movement where your heel goes to move to your butt. That's flexion. So I always have to think about that when I'm doing it. And the hips, for whatever reason, the hips and the spine really mess me up. But so when you're standing straight forward and somebody bends over to pick something up, they are flexing their hip when they do that. Especially when you go into like a straight leg deadlift position, that's flexion of the hip, and then when you stand back up, that's extension of the hip. Hopefully that helps people, but like I always have to do that, and I get so tripped up in my mind.
Oh yeah, and then when you get to like the planes of the human body, or the the different areas where it's like, where is your arm rotating when your shoulder, it's like
transverse.
Yeah, it's that stuff. I'm like, why does anyone need to know that stuff?
Yeah,
like, come on.
Our transverse is actually up down, I think, up down.
Frontal plane, yep.
Yeah, and then all that fun stuff. So quick last note on the hamstrings. I think that they might be activated because for some people the fiber recruitment of the hamstrings acts as a strong stabilizer for the knee and the hip joints. So I think for some people you might feel it in the hamstrings. I wouldn't necessarily say like don't like jump to the conclusion, why am I doing this wrong? Because whereas it's not meant to be felt, it can be felt because you have different like anthropometric forms. You are like a different shape than somebody else. So
you're just a different animal.
Yeah, your muscle insertions, or like muscle insertions, tendon insertions, could be like totally different, like different limb lengths than somebody else. So that's why we wanted to cover this topic, because assessing your own form is like extremely important. But then you might see other people do something and you say like, oh, I want to try that. That's totally fine, especially if like you're in your beginner to intermediate stages. I think that's the time to try out different forms, because it never hurts to try something else on for size, for example. As long as you're practicing good and I would say, good form. So that actually is probably a good thing to transition to, because like with the bench, all I want to cover is you'll see people with closer or wider grips based off a number of different factors. Some programmatic, the closer you are, the more tricep you have, the wider you are, the more it's going to focus on the pectoralis major or the pecs. There's that. Deadlift form is going to be like totally different based off of a number of different factors that we listed in the last episode. I did want to quickly go over some like generic dangerous forms. One of them Antoine talked about like backgrounding. This backgrounding is still a controversial topic and has become more widely accepted with like the prevalence of social media, I'd say. Just demonstrating that you have one bad lift one time, it's not going to kill you. What the current hypothesis is around backgrounding for movements, it needs to specifically be trained if that is a requirement of the sport. So an example is strongman. If you're a strongman competitor, you have to lift at certain times with a rounded back. So it's important that you incorporate progressive overload into your programming and incorporate frequent, I'll just say frequent, I won't give a time frame because it's going to be different from person to person, frequent deloads to allow for the tissue and other structures of the body, bones, tendons, ligaments to heal. But if you need to pick up an atlas stone, you have to be able to do that with a rounded spine. And there's people that have been able to pick up 300 plus pound atlas stones, which are extremely difficult to pick up because of their awkward shape and size. And you have to be able to do that with a rounded spine because it is a spherical object. So you won't snap up your shit the first time you do it. In general, most people should seek to get to a degree of neutral spine when they're doing any type of lifting from the ground as well as squat, any type of squat pattern. Almost any movement where the spine is going to be loaded at all, there should be some relative degree of neutral spine. Steffi Cohen has put out some really great information on this. So just type into YouTube if you're curious about this and you want to learn more. Steffi Cohen, neutral spine, something along those lines. Anything that comes up that has that's on Steffi Cohen's channel should be pretty solid content. So we do want to see a relative degree of neutral spine. That is 100% correct. If you have a little bit of lower back rounding on your leg press, I wouldn't really sweat it. You can work on varying degrees of flexibility. That's why when I'm being a good Roman and really sticking to my program, what I do is for my cool down, I will always stretch so that I can maintain a certain degree of range of motion, so that on a movement like a leg press, I can get as deep as possible. I can put my knees into the back of my rib cage. That's a joke, folks, so that I can get maximum range of motion. But if you have to cut it a couple inches short because you are feeling your lower back rounding, maybe a great place to start if you want to increase your range of motion is foam rolling as well as stretching your calves after you've warmed them up, but not before you do a calf workout. So after a calf workout, or if you're just going to do like some active recovery, make sure you do a warm up where your body's warm and the calf muscle is warm. You can just do like some calf circles in the air, unloaded. You can do dorsiflexion, plantar flexion drills. You can kind of walk on your tippy toes a little bit. I'll do like one-legged like calf raises, like as I'm like walking and kind of marching, or I'll just do like both of them, just body weight calf raises. Once you've warmed up the muscle and it's nice and pliable, then you can do some foam rolling and some stretching. It appears that both foam rolling and stretching will have the greatest impact when it comes to potentially increasing your range of motion. It's going to be different person to person. You're going to have to create your own protocol, but you can take these tips and incorporate them into your workout to see if they help you with range of motion. And essentially the goal would be to create greater degrees of dorsiflexion of the ankle joint so that the top of the foot gets closer to the shin, so that there's less incentive for the muscles to round. And the greater degree of dorsiflexion will allow a greater degree of knee flexion, and that will allow you to get deeper and sit deeper into the leg press and hopefully get to that full ROM baby. So on the dangerous form note, so for squats and other like spinal loaded movements where the bar is sitting on your back, it should never be on the cervical spine, which is essentially from like the trap up. Essentially, it's a little bit lower than that. It should be sitting essentially for high bar at the top of the scapula. So if you were to like draw a line through me, it would essentially be like right here. I think it's called the iliac crest, but I could be wrong about that. It's the top of the scapula. So when you do this with your shoulders and somebody points to like your scapula, have them point out the top of that muscle, the top of that bone. You can feel where muscles insert behind there. That's where the bar should sit for a high bar squat. For a low bar squat, it's going to sit about a ½ inch to about 1.5 inches, 2 inches, depends per person. It's going to sit on the rear delt, so it's going to be much lower. Usually you'll find people's hands are much closer when they're doing a low bar squat, closer to their shoulder, I should say. So yeah, the bar should never be placed on your cervical spine. If you have experience in the gym and you see somebody placing the bar on their neck like this and they're moving forward, that is like one of the few times where it's appropriate to go over to somebody, introduce yourself, and say like, hey, I've been in the gym for a while. I noticed you're like trying to squat. Like, are you running to like any issues with like comfortability or something along those lines? Ask them a question, like introduce yourself, like be friendly about it. But yeah, they might express to you, yeah, like it's a little uncomfortable, but like I want to do this. I hear this is good for like developing overall leg strength, and that's something that like I want to work on. They'll tell you a little bit more about themselves and the reason, their motivations for doing that movement. And you can say like, would you mind if I like help demonstrate where it's most comfortable for the bar to sit on my back? And you can really help them out by just giving that little tip. Never chastise somebody because you don't know where they're coming from. Just help them out. They might be new and just looking for a hand. So I say benching alone is not advised. Just tag in a buddy. Just do dumbbells if you were like lifting in a basement gym. You should always have somebody there if you're barbell benching.
Well, if you have a home gym,
yeah,
you can always set up like crash bar or like that strap or whatever. So like if it goes to your lowest point, like if you fail, you can like bail out. Because Roman's right. I mean, the other day I was watching this guy like garage gym reviews. His name's like Cooper, and he was talking about like he knew someone personally was benching alone, and their mom found him like dead because the bar like just dropped on his neck and he couldn't lift it. And as much as as much as you want to be the biggest, strongest person in bench, like maybe always have a spotter or have the safety precautions in place so you know where to bail. Yeah,
for sure. 100%. Yeah. Unfortunately, but yeah, that's just like a more recent like approach that I've taken. Like I love benching, like I love barbell benching so much, but like if I don't have somebody there, like even still like with this like the safety thing, like that can go. So I'd feel much more comfortable to have somebody else there to kind of spot me.
When Sam's out there, I just honestly bench on a Smith machine.
Yeah, and like so I went for a PR the other day. I did 230 by 5. Really stoked about that. But that was a PR for me. So I was like, I hit 225 by 5 last year, and like my goal has been like to work back up to that. I hit it again a couple weeks ago. I was like, cool, like my strength is definitely where it was last year or better. Like I think like I've had some chest gains, so I think that's actually better. I just went to a guy that I've like seen in the gym. We're like friendly with each other, but I don't know him super well. And I was like, hey, if you don't mind, like, can you just like watch me? You don't have to spot me, but like just make sure I don't kill myself. And he's a very nice dude. He's like, oh, I don't mind spotting you, And so he comes over and he like spotted me, and he did a great job. Like I hit the on my 4th rep, I hit the safety bar, and he was like right there to like jump in. I didn't need his help. I was able to like press it up, and then I had one more rep in me. But it was good to I set up the safety bar, but like I also wanted somebody else like just in case, just to keep an eye on me, because I was going for a PR, so I didn't know if I was going to be able to get it. And if I hit 4 and I knew I was at RPE 10, like I would have stopped. But I was like, I think I have this, so I'm going to go for it, and I got it. I know we're running on time, so sorry about Jesus. So I don't advise benching alone. And then the last note I wanted to make a note was I don't really advise for beginners to early intermediates any type of weighted instability movement. If you want to work on instability movement, that's fine. You can do squats on a Bosu ball. I don't recommend it. There's too much dynamic movement to be able to focus on any one skill, and I think it created a lot of frustration for somebody. For an advanced lifter or intermediate to advanced lifter, I have seen some individuals that can like deadlift 500 pounds, can squat over 400 pounds, that like will do some of those movements for some of them will do them for fine motor recruitment of like the spine, for example. Sure. I wouldn't ever recommend it to any of my clients. There's very few situations where I'd recommend it to a client, but for them, that's like what makes them happy. It's a training modality that works for them. I see far too many risks to doing it, and not very many payouts, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean those are like cool and all, but like in my opinion, like maybe if someone was like coming off an injury and like you were just slowly like getting into a movement, maybe like the slight instability with like someone like obviously with you and spotting you, like maybe that'll help like if you broke your ankle, your leg, where it kind of helps you